Welcome to episode 146 of the Driller Newscast, your update on all things innovating, impacting, and promoting the drilling industry. I'm your host, Brock Yordy, and this week we have a wonderful interview with Christine Hoffer, Executive Director of the New York Geothermal Energy Organization, New-York-GEO, which April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Saratoga Springs, New York, will be their annual conference. If you are involved in the geothermal industry at any phase, from projects that need to get started, to financing, to drilling companies, to design engineers, to just wanting to know more and how you can get involved, this is the conference you need to attend. I want to jump right into this discussion. There's so much happening right now throughout the country when it comes to energy policy. And New York, with Governor Hochul and NY-GEO, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, are continuing their path to have 8 million buildings converted to geothermal by 2030 and 36 million by 2050. If we're going to continue this geothermal boom, it is going to be from the local to the city to the state initiatives, and then back on to our federal initiatives. We do know as of right now, the incentives that we've been promised to 2032 are still intact, and that's what we're working towards. Let's jump into this great discussion where we're going to talk about drill demos that are going to happen on Earth Day, April 22nd, and then the conference to follow. I hope you enjoy. I'm very excited because this week's news, we're heading to New York. You got to be there Earth Day, and then the 23rd and the 24th New York-GEO event. This is a must-attend event. New York is blazing the way for geothermal for us as a country. And as we look at the different opportunities we have now versus what we had last year or the following year, Governor Hochul and NY-GEO and New York-GEO are showing that New York is not stopping. Like 2050 goals are going to happen. And as we see new statistics come out that are talking about possibly 3 degrees Celsius by 2100, if we don't embrace and run, we have to do this. And so I'm very excited today to bring on my favorite executive director in the drilling, geothermal, all industries, Christine Hoffer. And how are you doing, Christine?
Hey, Brock. Good morning. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
So we're excited. And I have my coffee cup because you suggested a really great segment to this.
Cheers.
Cheers. Christine goes, we should do brews with Brock. And yeah, I like it. Smile all day. But this year at New York-GEO, it's starting a day early on Earth Day for a field event with young individuals, new individuals getting into it, high schoolers. Can you break down what's happening at BOCES and this really cool yet crazy thing to bring in drillers and all that you have to do? Not that you're not already putting on this amazing event, but now you're adding drilling equipment and hard hats and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Brock. We're really very, very excited. And when I first started the first conference in 2023, we had to extend our exhibit space because we had so many drillers and manufacturers that wanted to be there. And that was my first introduction, and we had lots of great conversations about the importance of drilling and why it is. So in between that time, we got the 500-foot rule passed in New York State to allow for houses or buildings that are landlocked or urban settings to be able to do geothermal. So anyway, I learned a lot about drilling and the importance that it has to the advancement of ground source heat pumps and geothermal in New York State and beyond. Separate to that was the whole workforce development piece and segment that I don't want to say we're missing it, but it needs a lot of attention. So New York State has our trade school program is called BOCES, and the one in Saratoga happens to have a heavy machinery equipment operating section with a very, very large field. So I approached them and said, "Oh, by the way, this is what I do. This is what I want. Can we have a drilling demonstration at your school, and can we have all of your students come?" And they were like, "Really? Great. Yes." Long term, the goal is that we work with BOCES and other trade schools across the United States to implement a drilling segment and a geothermal segment to the HVAC programs that they have within these schools. So that's the long term plan. So anyway, we are going to be doing a drilling demonstration at the school. We will have maybe approximately 200 students from the BOCES facility that will be in attendance. So there'll be some students in the morning and students in the afternoon because the students come from across the capital region of New York State to this particular school. The students are currently enrolled in the heavy machinery equipment operating program. They're enrolled in the HVAC program, forestry, environmental studies, and then any other student that's in the school because they teach other things there that would be interested in coming out and seeing what drilling and geothermal is all about.
That's fantastic. And so we've been allowed to drill holes.
Yeah, so we're going to be right now we have two confirmed drillers, Hawk and Rosa, are two local drillers, really great guys. And I'm very appreciative because it is such a busy time for all drillers. The snow is off the ground. It's may or may not be frozen. Who knows? Mother Nature is not really happy with us right now. It definitely will be muddy. But the two of them are going to drill holes differently, learning about all this stuff still. But in addition to the drilling, we'll be showcasing a few other things that are necessary to drill a good borehole or understand it. So the USGS will be there with a drift monitoring program. Our friends from FW Web are going to be doing a loop and butt fusion demonstration for those of us that aren't familiar what that means, but also for the students so they understand the different types of jobs that are available within the geothermal industry. If I could get somebody there to do duct work, I would do that, but I think that's pushing it. We will also have a thermal conductivity test happening. Our friends from Brightcore will have a rig there. They won't be drilling, but they have a site where they're doing lots of different types of drilling. So they're going to be doing a video and showcasing that to highlight to the students as well as the attendees of the different types of drilling based on the environment. And there's a few other things up our sleeve that we're still working on, but it'll be a really big interactive day, including you. And I understand you're going to be doing something really fun and fantastic for us as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk drilling fluids, testing properties, and how different drilling methods react to different downhole conditions. We're going to have some cup tests. We're gonna get muddy.
Nice.
My favorite time in this industry is anytime I can be in my boots and I can have mud on my jeans, and we're just all out there having a great time outdoors.
Great. The other thing that the students are doing is that they're doing the dig safe. So the students are, all of our drillers will be doing this as well, but the students are going to take that step as well. And they're meeting with the dig safe people on April 7th. They're coming to the school to help them understand why the dig safe is important, not just if they're doing heavy machinery, but drilling and other things as well. So we're engaging them in the process even before we get to the school and the drilling.
It's it's really important, the Dig Safe program. And when we look at even before we start a construction project, the opportunities for risk or the opportunities from injuries to hitting another utility to just those conditions of site prep is something we as an industry need to do a better job of looking at. And it's good for them to start thinking right from the beginning. I always make the comment when we show up to look at this new green space or like, hey, we can put geothermal here. And I'm looking around at all these other beautiful buildings in the area. And my first question is, should there be a Starbucks here? There's not. Why? You know, what is under that beautiful turf or kickball field or whatever that has prevented that?
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So the kids will be doing that, which I think is terrific, and it's their first. I think it's their first time doing that, and to understand why. But again, it's pretty great. And I have to say, the instructors are very excited about what we're doing, and the thought of it. And it's my understanding that this area of land, there's no water wells, so there's really been no drilling on the area that we're in. Hawk actually has drilled in the proximity. So we're using their drill log from a water program that they did as the guidance for it. Um, but Kevin Moravik, who's on our board, and with Barney Moravik, is excited because it hasn't been drilled, and he's hoping that even though the drill rigs will be adjacent to each other, that they'll both find some interesting issues so that we can talk about that as well.
I love that, and a lot of people don't know Kevin um, is an athlete and a coach, and so the biggest thing that we have in learning in our industry right now and developing next generation is that everything that happens on site is a teachable lesson. And so it is fun to do drill demos, but so many drill demos are we drilled a hole and now we're just pretending to interact with that with everybody because we're in fear of some catastrophic event. When in reality, when we get out there and we start drilling and we have different interactions, we have this beautiful opportunity to react and learn together and understand that, sure, complications are going to happen. You might fumble the ball, but you may pick it up and you still may get that touchdown. And it's the same thing when it comes to executing on a borehole. And for our engineers and other folks that don't get to be on site as much to see that as well in a safe space of we're all learning instead of dang it, we need to get 1,200 feet in the ground today with loops and grout is
Right.
also just such a great learning environment. I'm happy to see New-York-GEO doing this with the BOCES and Empire State Waterwell. You've had lots of engagement with them as well. And so you guys kick butt at just open collaboration and working together.
Well, collaboration equals success. I mean, it's just pretty simple. Again, Kevin's a part of that. His family has been for a long time. Dave Rosick is the outgoing president for Aswata, and so it's a good relationship, and we all want the same thing. We want to drill properly and protect our water.
Beautiful. And then the next day we jump right into the same beautiful tracks of just a broad spectrum of from start to finish and policy making and everything. And we'll have 2 days of that with the New-York-GEO conference, correct?
Correct. And in addition to the demo, we are also doing four different geothermal site tours. So folks can register and go on one of four different tours. And I think we align them so that the interests, so one's all campus, one has some residential, one is multifamily renovation, low to moderate income. Beautiful. The facility is beautiful. And it's interesting because some people say, well, why are you doing that? We already know about geothermal. But at our conference and at others, there's lots of individuals that either are new to the geothermal industry, which is again why we're doing the drilling, because it's so important that the people that are designing these buildings or renovating or whatever they're doing, is they need to understand that it's not just park a rig and poke a hole. There's a lot that goes into it, and that appreciation of what our drillers do and how they do it and the timeliness of it, I think is really, really, really important. Same thing with the tours, is educating individuals, whether they think they know everything about geothermal, which nobody does, or thermal networks and the application. So the idea that we can introduce what we do to people, the individuals, the developers, the architects, the engineers about geothermal and why it is, and they get to see the pipes and they're like, this is creating domestic hot water, this is creating heating and cooling for this building. Where's the, all this other stuff that you're supposed to have? Where's the smell? Where's the oil? So I think it's really great that we're doing that. And then the next day on the 23rd will be the beginning of the conference. And again, adding value to what we're doing and adding the opportunity for an experience and bringing in and engaging the new geo individuals for sure. So yes, the 23rd we'll start bright and early on the 23rd with our tracks. We will have 3 tracks and 15 sessions on day one, and 3 tracks and 4 sessions on day two.
That's fantastic. And there's some great speakers already set up. And, I getting to work with Heat in Massachusetts and then getting to work with you in NYSERDA in New York. Um, it's great to see two big states that collaborate and are advocating and have big goals. And you have a keynote speaker from Massachusetts this year, right?
Yeah, so we have our a counterpart to our chair of the Public Service Commission from Massachusetts. So unfortunately, our chair, Roy Christian, was not available. So we chatted with him about his counterpart from Massachusetts. And he's like, oh, yeah, definitely. He's a great guy. And they're also doing some super amazing things in Massachusetts, as we all know. So it was just a really great uh, opportunity, and we were very thankful that he's willing to travel from Massachusetts to New York. Jamie is his name, and we're very very excited about having him in New York.
And we see there's lots going on, and we have New York drillers that are working in Mass, and we have Mass
Right,
drillers coming down, and it's awesome. Without New York and Mass pushing what we have for our country, we could be in a much different place as we drive our geothermal goals.
correct. Yeah, and going back to NYSERDA, I think that. I know that NYSERDA and what they're doing and the programs that they're implementing across all types of ground source heat pumps and geothermal and thermal networks and the support. So Sue Doherty came to ICHPA and talked about Pond 5614, which is large buildings, really, really great. And, folks are coming to me and saying, how do you get a NYSERDA? I'm like, well, there's a lot of advocacy that happens. And having NYSERDA and folks like Sue and Donovan um, speak about what they're doing outside of New York is very, very important because they can articulate so well the programs that they're doing, why they're doing it, and the importance it has to meet our climate goals.
It is wild. I have said the same thing many years, like looking at Donovan's career and looking at Sue and the entire team over there. And right now they have a LinkedIn post up saying we're hiring. They're out
Right.
looking for great
Yeah.
professionals. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but NYSERDA's 20 plus years or more older, and like it's just one of the things that New York State is, forward, looking in the largest city in our country and all of the energy needs and such a big, diverse state from the Adirondacks to the Southern Tier to the Finger Lakes. Like there's a lot of different energy needs and things
Right.
going on. And I think that's what's so cool when I get to geek out at New-York-GEO and all the professionals is the fact that like when you solve something in a corner or a piece of New York, it's very applicable throughout our country. And it's why this conference to me is so very important for everybody to attend.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the first things I learned from Kevin is that New York State basically has the topography of the entire planet. You can find it someplace in New York. And so from a school or a an opportunity to learn the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will, like New York is the place to do it. So we're pretty fortunate with that as well. The other keynote that we have is Congressman Paul Tonko. So
Yeah.
he'll be joining us on Thursday, which is really great because it might have changed in elections, but he's one of only 6 congressmen that is an engineer. He is a Clarkson alumni, which is where my son Maxwell went. He has no aspirations to be any politician, but Clarkson is a purely engineering school. So it's great that Congressman Tonko is an engineer and he gets us and gets, what we're trying to do and is able to then articulate that back to, the federal folks that are making some decisions.
So we've moved from Albany. What was the decision making to find for the drill field or what?
So the second year, 2024, we reduced ourselves to a 1 day conference because we added Brooklyn and had two conferences. And we honestly thought that we would not we might have 150 people, a couple, and it was packed. And from an exhibitor standpoint, you like that synergy, you like that tightness and all that kind of stuff. But we were limited. We could not grow anymore in Albany. And going back to our driller friends, is we want to be able to have the opportunity to showcase larger equipment. I'm going to say that the drillers are naughty because they're all busy. So while we don't have a ton of large equipment, we moved to be able to grow and accommodate the exhibitors and larger equipment, and then just have the ability to grow as an event itself. As well, I love Albany and I love our friends at the Marriott, but Saratoga just is going to offer a different experience for folks that have some free time and want to step outside and enjoy the beauty of Saratoga. But primarily we moved because we needed the ability to expand our space and accommodate our exhibitors that wanted to be able to spread out a little bit more. And then hopefully as we continue to recognize and our equipment piece of it, whether it be the driller or the ground source heat pump manufacturers that want to bring in bigger or different equipment. We just have that ability in Saratoga, and unfortunately, we didn't have that at the Albany Marriott.
Growth is good, and
Right.
it is wild on the first day of the conference to see all the individuals showing up to get signed up and get in there. It's this is such a fun event. My April is always filled with getting to come out and visit with the New York-GEO team and, you know, geek out over what we can do to save the planet.
Right, exactly. And so with that, the ICHPA, we have the ACT committee, and we launched last year the National Geothermal Month. And now we've moved to international, which it always should have been. And I feel bad that we didn't do that, recognizing our international friends. And we chose April because of Earth Day. And, the planet this is the only one that we're going to ever get. And we've been really naughty to her. And our industry can help decarbonize and electrify without the impact on the grid. I'm still learning about this myself, but we do talk a lot about that and the impact that ground source heat pumps have on the grid versus air source heat pumps on the grid, and what that means. And so hopefully we continue to talk that message in that, like in New York, there's discussion about, as we grow, we need more electric capacity. And we don't necessarily need that electric capacity if we do more ground source heat pumps and geothermal versus air source heat pumps or other alternatives that are heavy load usage on the grid. And our utilities are beginning to recognize that. And at our conference, every utility in New York is pretty much represented and attending. And so they also get it, which is really terrific.
I couldn't agree more. And with the impacts to climate that we've had and the ice caps melting and the jet stream shifting, it was 72 yesterday here in Michigan, and it is 30 right now and snowing. And um, that is a big swing, but yet we're still in winter. But as we hit summertime and we look at that load, that peak load we put on with air conditioning, um, equitable cooling, and the endless possibilities of ground source heat pumps being able to handle a wide range because of our firm, stable temperature in the ground is so important for us to get the message out. And we're still just a very small section of the entire heating and cooling industry for people to be educated on.
Right. Yeah. I learned that at ICHPA. We're 1% of or 2% of everything. And it's just like, what? And again, I think doing things like the drilling demonstration that we're doing and bringing the students out, because they're the mouth to the ear of the parents that are listening. And I remember when I was involved in youth lacrosse, that's what we would do is, I would chirp in the ear of my son's teams that were non-lacrosse about why it is, and they go back to their parents and say, "Oh, I want to play lacrosse." It's the same thing, I want to be a good steward as I grow into the future, and if we can educate the young people about the hows and whys, and that there is a job for them. They don't have to do this in order to do this, and that they're good paying jobs and they're kind of fun jobs, to be honest. So it's, that, doing these things in BOCES, and I'm hoping that this won't be a one-off, that we will do something, maybe not actual drilling, but doing things with the BOCES system throughout New York State. And that, similar to what you were able to do with heat in Massachusetts, where we're talking to the young people as they're coming into the workforce, and how they can choose, geothermal drilling and the things that we're doing as their career choice. But to get that career choice, we need to give them that education in high school. So that's what the hope is.
I couldn't agree more. And just the same as the 1% or 2%, we look at um, the drilling aspect of construction is 0.5% of the industry. And really, the construction industry in a numbers to our working population is 5%, right? So, like, getting out and doing something fun and rewarding that's also not a lot of people are part of, and you're making a meaningful impact and saving our planet. So
Right.
it's cool. I'm excited to be there. Any last thoughts or anything else that we need to add in?
No, just if you haven't registered, get yourself registered.
Please
Save some money.
register, everybody. Not day
Register.
of. Let's get on it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll pop a link in there of how
Yes.
to register. And we're just excited. We're excited to be able to again talk about ground source heat pumps and geothermal, boreholes. All the things that are fun and exciting. The other piece, going back to education, is we always invite our state policymakers. Unfortunately, April is the budget time for the state, so it should be passed, but like every other state, it usually doesn't. But we do hope to have some of our policymakers in attendance as well to help them understand and advance the things that we were asking. So right now we have a geothermal tax credit. We're upping it from 5,000 to 10,000. It's through the one house budget, so we're hoping that the governor will put it in the full budget, and lots of other things that are happening, including cap and invest and the New York Heat Act. So there's, from a policy standpoint, doing these things helps our policymakers understand the importance of our industry and what we're doing and why we need to do it. So that seeing, touching, feeling, and the education is super important. So that's the other reason why coming to NY-GEO, being the advocate through what you're doing, what you guys do with the driller, these podcasts that you do, all the great work that we're all doing, coming together and talking about how we can advance our industry on all levels. So come to NY-GEO.
Yes, that's exactly it. You better be there Earth Day and then the 23rd and 24th. It's going to be a great time. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for joining us today, Christine.
yeah, yeah, yep. Thanks, Brock.
Cheers. Thank you for joining us for episode 146. Thank you, New-York-GEO, the state of New York, NYSERDA, for blazing the way for geothermal heating and cooling. It is so important. And as the New-York-GEO conference gets closer and we have all of the roundtables and presentations and discussions solidified, we will do a recap, get you all the great information you need so you can jump into this. One last thing I want you to think about as we get ready to do part 2 of 21st century drillers in geothermal development. There's a lot of discussion out there right now on training drillers. What a drilling company needs to train their people is different than the fundamental foundation that we need to be able to get those right individuals to the drilling companies. So it's time we start collaborating. It's time we start thinking about how we do this. And as you think about being the leader on site, the driller on site, can you step off the platform? Can you step away from the project? Can you default to trust? It's time to check our egos and think about how we develop this new generation of individuals coming in, and from an apprenticeship program at a drilling company that needs to teach their specific equipment, tasks, standard operating procedures, safety expectations, work life balance, that is much different than stepping in and starting to have the discussion on components of a project, roles and responsibilities, what it takes to become a great field technician, to an assistant driller, to eventually a driller. It's going to take our entire industry thinking about these things and checking our egos and working together, because together we are better. And that's the beautiful thing that's happening with this field day that's happening at New-York-GEO on April 22nd with BOCES. We need to get them involved. We need to get them seeing the possibilities of installing as much geothermal as possible to help curve those greenhouse gases, to help hit 2100 without us being 3 degrees Celsius above where we thought we'd be. It's a lot to have. Check out thedriller.com. Johnny O'Donnell is doing a heck of a job getting the stories, getting the news out there. We still have JJ in DC. He is also boots on the ground. Lots of things changing for us. Lots of things that we need to be thinking about, from water, air, to how our businesses run. If you got a story, you want to have a discussion, you come find me at questions@askbrock.com or Johnny at thedriller.com, and we'll get your voice out there because we need it. Have a safe and productive week, and let's see you at New-York-GEO on April 22nd for the field day, and the 23rd and 24th to professionally develop with everybody that's going to be there. Thanks, everybody.